welcome to Vikti Parivar. So today is a very special day for us. So the days of our childhood. So we'll be having our brother Charlie and brother Ken with us. And so before we start, I would like to invite our dear brother Ken to introduce us, our two brothers. So welcome, brother Eric.
Hello, Om Shanti, everyone. Greetings, and very, very warm and special greetings, especially to Mohini Didi, the whole Avyakti Parivar team, and the two amazing brothers. So I'm very, very, very fortunate to be the one to welcome you first. There will be many welcome and greetings, but I'm the first one to welcome both of you, Brother Ken and Brother Charlie. And, this Avyakti Parivar has been a family reunion. And now that we are remembering the days of our childhood, I'm so happy to, greet you with memories of my childhood as well, because you were in my childhood. And when I came into Yan in 1983, I think, you were already big brothers. And you've been, of course, an inspiration to all the brothers, and especially to me, of course, for many years. And watching you aging, growing, being transformed into angels, into very special, unique souls in the Brahmin family has been really a privilege and a great inspiration. So it's a very simple welcome. I know you are totally overqualified intellectually to be angels, but I know your hearts have been growing more and more and more and more over the years. And the beauty of what I felt from both of you is, although you have an amazing intellect and you brought to all of us really clear ideas on how to live our Brahmin life in a Western world, your intellect never overshadowed your heart. And we always felt your brotherly warmth, your brotherly love that was given to all of us. So very, very special welcome. And also very special welcome on behalf of the brothers, because yes, you are in brothers' bodies. And we're used to have so many sisters around us, seniors, but it's so sweet to have special brothers with us. So can brothers offer flowers to brothers? I'm sure we can. So dear brother Charlie, you can pick it up. This is a pink peach rose for you. And I know it will reflect your blooming heart. Okay, Charlie, here you are. Get it. It's coming to you. All right, you got it. Very special welcome. And of course, to Brother Ken, it has to be yellow, because you sang the song of the sun on which we cannot write our name on. So, Brother Ken, this is your special rose. And it's gone. I don't have anymore. So both brothers, very, very welcome. On behalf of everyone, I can give you brothers' hugs. Welcome. And feel the hug from the whole Avyakti Parivar, but very, very special hugs from the brothers. So welcome, and a big, big Om Shanti to both of you.
Om Shanti. Thank you very much, dear brother Eric, for welcoming. And before we start, we would like to bring some beautiful memories of our dear brothers in visual. So let's see.
I was thinking so deeply about God and this relationship with God, and I felt absolutely drenched in love. It was like time stopped. There was a pause button on time, and I had this eternal feeling of this purity of love, this purity of belonging, this sense of connection. And my whole inner world said, I've come home.
I'd been so touched by Baba in the first meeting with me, he said, you'll go back to Australia and bring a bouquet of souls. If I didn't do something, if I didn't lend my time, money, energy, and thinking to this great cause of Babas, then I would really disappear off the face of the earth, you know.
Ser mejor yo misma y
convertirme entero.
ajá, convertirme interior.
No, entero.
Completamente.
Completo, tornarme completo.
Ajá.
Para poder mejor servir al mundo.
Ajá, para poder servir mejor al mundo.
So in fact, it's a real service to the world if I focus attention on myself.
In fact, the Global Cooperation Project was launched in April of 1988, but its origins go back to 1986, which was the International Year of Peace. And I think many of us here would remember a project called Million Minutes of Peace. It gave the organisers, the Brahma Kumaris, 6 Peace Messenger Awards. And the Peace Studies Unit of the United Nations did say to the organisers, well, you've set up this infrastructure, why not continue it?
Om Shanti, thank you very much. So these were some of the glimpse of our two brothers from their early days. And I know our dear brother Eric already welcomed you with rose and flower. But our two little Avekti children, they also would like to say welcome on behalf of whole Avekti Parivar. So here they are. They want to just offer you something. Please accept. So first, would like to give to Brother Charlie.
Welcome, Brother Charlie. Welcome to Affecti Parivar. We love to listen from you. Om Shanti.
And here we have flowers for dear Brother Ken. Please accept.
Om Shanti, Brother Khan. We love to listen and learn about your childhood. Welcome, Brother Khan, to Affecti Parivar. Om Shanti.
Thank you, angels, for bringing flowers for our dear brothers. So now we will have 1-2 minutes of meditation with them, and then we will hear from them. So just for you all to know that we have 6 languages available for translation, so you can select the option. Okay, now let's start 2 minutes of meditation, and then we will hear from our dear brothers.
योगी पवित्र जीवन कितना सुखद सलोना योगी पवित्र जीवन कितना सुखद सलोना सींचा है ज्ञान अमृत से अंतर का कोना कोना योगी पवित्र जीवन कितना सुखद सलोना सींचा है ज्ञान अमृत से अंतर का कोना कोना
Om Shanti. So, dear brothers, now we would like to hear from both of you. Welcome.
Thank you, Bhumi Ben. Thank you, team. Thank you, wonderful Aviyakti Parivar program for all of these incredible moments. Thank you, Charlie, for being here.
Thank you so much, Ken. So lovely to see you and so lovely to be with you. And I'd also love to thank Bhumi Ben. She's been so inspiring to both of us for this morning, and Eric for his always incredibly loving welcome, and to the whole Avyakti Parivar family, and especially to the two little angels. They were just beautiful. Does those little angels remind you of your childhood, Ken?
I don't think I was an angel like that. But thanks also to the team that put the photos together. Fantastic work. I mean, you must have scoured the earth for such photos. I hadn't seen half of them. So thank you, whoever put that together. Very, very inspiring. It brings back so many memories.
So Ken, when you were seeing those photos, how did you feel? What feelings did it bring up in you?
Well, obviously Madhuban more than anything, and of course service, but Madhuban first, and especially meetings with Bapdada. We had, both of us, so many meetings. I actually lost count how many times we sat with Baba personally, and Baba giving instructions, very clear instructions for the self and for service. And it was such a beautiful feeling, and just watching those meetings, seeing those meetings, you meeting Baba, and me meeting Baba also. This is just brought so many memories back.
You know, when we first started and we met Baba in the history hall, we met Baba in the meditation hall, and we even met Baba in Baba's room a few times.
Right.
And, you know, we would often have personal meetings, and I never even wrote down what Baba said at the first few years, you know, because that was what Madhuban was those probably the most special moments of my entire Brahman journey, those personal meetings with Baba. And Kenji, you've had so many, but is there one or two that absolutely stand out for you that still come up onto the screen of your mind that really touch you and move you and bring out all that love for this life and Baba?
I think Baba is, of course, when you sit in front of Baba, the drishti is so soul-searching in a way. It just sort of breaks down any barriers, and you know that soul knows you 100%. And it doesn't matter to him. He just sees the benefit. He just sees the perfection, and that comes across. And so even before remembering any words from Baba, I remember Baba's drishti that sort of just breaks down every sort of obstacle, melts the heart, melts the intellect, and there's nothing. There's no problem in the universe in front of Baba.
Yes, I often remember my first meeting, and I was just a few months in Gyan, and I was so new, and maybe 3 or 4 months. I just started in London with you, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit later, but I was in the history hall, and my memory is there was about 50 of us, and when the Muli finished, there was 3 double foreigners. The double foreign season was 3 of us. And we sat in front of Baba. And then Baba gave me long drishti, just like you were saying. And, you know, my experience was somehow, as you said, his drishti penetrated so deep and like scanned the memory track, all the sense goes. And it felt like Baba's drishti fell on the real me. And I often feel Baba massage that out to the surface, you know, and I really feel somehow something shifted in me that night. It was almost like Baba invested some faith in me, and I invested more faith in myself. And then Baba asked me 2 questions. I was just a few months in Ghana. He said, do you have one Shiv Baba and none other? And I said, yes. Because you can't say no to Baba, you know, it's like, and then Baba said, are you stable on drama? I went, yes. Because, you know, and I've often thought about those 2 questions. They've sort of defined my Brahman journey, you know, that they were the first 2 things I feel Baba gave me my attention, that this life works best when you really have a relationship with one. And you just understand no matter what happens, it's a game, it's a drama.
A bit similar to me, Charlie. My first meeting, I think I was in Madhuban in November of the same year that I came into Gyan. It was Diwali time. I remember it was November because it was Diwali, beginning of November. And I'd come into Gyan in the beginning of August. So how many months is that? 3 or 4 months. And I met Baba in a meditation hall. There were more people, but I was the only foreigner there. In fact, very few foreigners had arrived there before me. You stayed on in London and came, I guess, a month or 2 later, right?
Yes.
Anyway, again, that feeling of Baba. But you see, Baba's blessing, Baba didn't ask me any question. He just gave me a blessing. And I told him that I was on my way back to Australia. and after being away for a couple of years. And I knew that there was a small centre there in Sydney, and I wanted to help out. And so I said, Baba, I'm going back to Australia. And Baba said, you will bring a bouquet of souls to India. And so I didn't know what was going to happen. And this is where you came to the rescue in a way. As I got back to Australia, the centre folded, it shut down after 2 or 3 weeks. The brother who started service there went back to England. Sister Suman, who was there, went back to Germany, or went to Germany to start service. And Didi Nimla, who was there, had to leave because her visa had run out. And there weren't many people to give sustenance, so suddenly there was no centre. And service started with no moolies. And so you came to the rescue, my dear brother, because you would send your notes. There were no moolies in English. And the nearest centre to me that at that time was, I guess, Singapore, so 8,000, 6,000 kilometres. I don't know how far. But I requested you, can you please send your moolie notes? Take notes of Daddy's classes and take notes of the moolies. And every week you'd send a pack of moolie notes. And it was our saving. You saved us, actually. Because Moolie was reading Charlie's notes.
And if all of those listening, I do remember it very well. And all of those listening, my handwriting's not easy. And you know what happened in London when Ken and I started? It was in Tennyson Road, which I loved it because there was this tiny little cottage in the back blocks of London. It was the world headquarters of the Brahma Kumaris, so tiny. And when I started, how many would have there been? There's 15 or 20 BKs, I imagine, in London. And there was no English moolies. Because there was no English students. And my first moolie classes, Daddy would read the moolie, Daddy Janki, and Gentiben would sit on the floor. And then she would write it in English, and we would look over her shoulder. That was our moolie.
Reading Genti's writing,
reading Sister Genti's writing. And then a little bit later, Sister Genti began to read it. And I would make, because of Ken, I had got a carbon book. Some of you may remember carbon copybook. So I would write in the carbon copybook the whole moolie word for word. And at the end of every week, I would post it to Sydney. And actually, Ken, I don't know whether you remember, but we were actually in Sydney when you came back and you started the centre in Sydney. And Daddy Prakashmani was on a world tour in 1977.
Yeah.
And there were English moolies coming from Madhuban, translated by Dada and Anka Shaw.
But they were only half pages.
Well, that's what I was saying, that he only translated what he thought the foreigners would understand. So it was only like, you could read it in 5 minutes. And I remember we showed Daddy G. I said, Daddy G, this is our moolie. And she said, only that? Oh, only that? And then she wrote to Daddy Janki and said, you must start translating the moolies properly in London. And that's when we started to get, properly translated moolies into...
Yeah, it was from Sydney that the moolies in English started. The ideas came, and Genti was there, of course, and she was also impressed. She didn't know either. Didn't realise, actually. She didn't realise.
And
Kenji, so how did you come into Gyan in London? What happened there?
Well, maybe if I wind it back a little bit like you, I sort of grew up in Melbourne, and I think I was a searcher since a child for something. I didn't really know what. My nickname at school was Swami. My friends called me Swami. So you can imagine what I was like. I think a bit like you, Ken. You're a philosopher since the age of the two little angels, I think. And actually, when I went to university and I started at Melbourne University, and this yearning for something was really strong. So I just deferred my university and I traveled. And I traveled all the way overland to London and, stayed with all those different religions, stayed in India for 6 months and dipped my toes in the Ganges and lived with a yogi in the Himalayas, did all that sort of stuff. And I settled in London and I was wandering around even all the spiritual groups in London. And I came across the Spiritualist Association of Great Britain. And there was a little sign there of all the programs happening. And one of them was BK Jayanti was going to give a talk. And I didn't know, is this a man, a woman? I had no idea who this was. But I went along to this talk because I was learning how to meditate. And I had been living in a Christian ashram in Belgium for a while. And I was really interested to properly learn how to meditate. I lived in a Buddhist one too for a while in England. And as soon as I saw Daddy and Gentiben, there was something familiar. That's all when you sort of, you can't intellectually understand, but there was something familiar about the white. And they kept inviting me to go to the center. And so finally I went to Tennyson Road and Sudesh Didi gave me the course. I think I was her first course in English. And we did it in Tennyson Road, myself and a friend, an Australian friend, Simon. And Sudesh Didi would give us the lesson. And then I had a little notebook and I would draw all the pictures of the three worlds and things like that in my little notebook. But at the end of each session, Daddy Janki would come and give drishti. And really during the course, I had incredible experiences. And it was absolutely magical moments of my childhood because, I didn't know, these incredible feelings. I grew up, in a Christian country, but I could never relate much to Christianity. And when I was, when I was a teenager, I went to confirmation classes and my parents asked me, I was only 12 years old, what did you learn? And I said to my family, I think I'm an atheist because I found it hard to accept the Christian view of God, a very punishing, authoritarian, judgmental sort of God. But this was, I don't know, just the feelings and the experiences of Baba right from the beginning. There was a really instant change and began to attend the Muli straight away. What about you? What's your early memories?
Well, just prior to coming to Baba, I'd spent 6 months in Morocco meditating and alone, almost 6 months, 5 months and a bit, in silence, because I really wanted to understand the universe and I tried to understand it through teaching myself. And I set myself up with a copy of the Dhammapada, the New Testament, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, and some of the Upanishads. And every day I would study and meditate, and fasting. I was just fasting most of the time. But I was already practicing the principles. You don't remember this, but the first time I met you was at a party somewhere with some friends. And I remember telling you how important celibacy was on the spiritual path. That was our conversation, but you don't remember, right? It was a party, of course. And so anyway, I came back to London because I got a bit tired of trying to figure out everything for myself. And I came back to London. I moved in with you guys again because we were already living together. One day I noticed, I think you'd just finished the course. One day you were going, and I think it was the first day that you were going for the Mulis there. I said, where are you guys going this time of the day? Because besides everything, I was studying Raja Yoga or Patanjali. So you said that we're going to the Raja Yoga Center. Raja Yoga Center? Is there a Raja Yoga Center in London? And so I went along with you. And I remember coming into the door, if you remember at the door of Tennyson Road, there was a poster. You have been here 5,000 years ago. Do you remember that?
I remember it well.
There was a poster next to the door as you come in. And I thought, what an amazing idea. You have already been here. Anyway, Sister Sudesh was alone at that day because Genti Ben and Daddy had gone to, I think, Leicester or somewhere. And I guess she didn't know what to do with me. So the very first day I came to the center, I'm sitting in the Morley. I didn't do the course. I just sat there and I just started to pick up everything. And then very quickly, I was on my way back to Australia. Actually, I did it a hard way. I think I traveled, because I didn't have much money, I traveled from London to India in about 2 weeks, overland, trains and buses. Can you imagine? 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then I was suddenly in front of Baba. So it was like a fast course. But everything seemed familiar to me. Everything seemed to the vibration was familiar, the purity was familiar, the white, as you said, was familiar. We were quite weird characters, for the sisters. I just imagine they were so patient with us because we really, both Charlie and I had beards and long hair. We had really strange clothes. I used to use Moroccan clothes, and so I looked like a prophet out of the Old Testament, to tell the truth. And Daddy actually called me the philosopher, So it's really, but the sisters were so patient with us, and little by little we became more angelic.
Yes, I remember those days with so much love. And I remember you, Ken, because you used to wear, as you said, this long Moroccan jalaba, this brown jalaba, which was sort of like right down to the ground, like some sort of cleric, Muslim cleric. You had very long hair. He looks like he was straight out of a cave from North India or something. But they're magical days because there was so much instant change. And I wonder what really made you sort of recognize Baba? What was the thing that really made you feel this is where you belong? You've come home. This is the truth. What was that moment for you?
I think there were two moments. The first moment was Daddy Janki's Drishti. When the first time I met her, she was coming down the stairs in that very tiny house. And of course, I had to stop because you can't have one person going up and another person coming down at the same time. It's too narrow. So I stopped and I was waiting for Daddy to come down. And she looked at me first time and she said, "You will do Baba's service in the whole world."
Really?
And I didn't know who Baba was and I didn't know what service was. So I thought, okay, fine. Anyway, that was the first moment. I believe I took birth in that moment from Daddy's Drishti. Secondly, in Madhuban, when Baba met me, and that, of course, that experience of Drishti the first time. And then as things turned out, there was so much love and happiness and the willingness to do service, because I figured that if I didn't do something, I didn't, create some people around me who were having the same interest, I probably wouldn't survive. So I really got into serving others. And for me, service was through music or through art. I had no idea. In fact, I couldn't imagine going or organizing lectures, but I could imagine organizing some artistic performances. So that's how service got started in Australia with that, or at least the first group anyway. that group, that bouquet that I took back to Madhuban after 1 year was 16 souls.
Yes, I I remember, and I think my first, there was a few moments that really, I think, this sense of belonging, this reconnection with Baba, and one was, it's quite similar really, because we celebrate our birthday on the 2nd of August, but I'd been going to the center for a few months, and when we had Raki, and if you remember the Rakis in London, do you remember they were like hours and hours of yoga bhatti? And Daddy would give such extraordinary drishti. And I don't know, I just had such a feeling of love and that sense of belonging. But probably the main moment, once I was at the center one day, not long after I'd done the course, and I was walking down the road and I was thinking about Baba. Who is this Baba? The sisters keep talking about, really trying to establish this connection. And I just, I often sort of think of it was almost like I put a pause button on time. Sometimes that eternal moment just opened up. I felt so loved. I felt so close. I felt so absorbed. It was like absorbed in the ocean of love. And I can remember thinking, I've come home. I've come home. This is where I belong. And I don't think I've ever doubted it since that day. And then when I went on to Madhuban and meeting Baba that first time, it was just, like coming home to where I belong. And I was just, when you were just finishing, then I was remembering that when Ken was in Sydney and Daddy Prakash, when he went on a world tour in 1977, and I had returned to Melbourne. I'm originally from Melbourne, Ken's from Sydney. And Ken got together a whole group of musicians and they put on this play at the Great Hall of Sydney University, which is a wonderful old sort of Oxford University style hall. And they did the cycle. It was called the Dance of the Universe. It was in dance and music, and none of them were professional. The average age was about 20, 19 or 20. But it was so moving. It's hard to describe. I think a lot of people, sometimes the truth of the whole thing brought tears to people's eyes. 400 people came. And Ken wrote that. I remember you wrote that and rehearsed everybody. And it was so moving. But what I do remember, don't know whether Ken remembers, that we were so busy putting on this play. We were so new that when we went back to the center, no one had cooked dinner for Daddy Ji.
That's right.
and Daddy Ji herself went into the kitchen and cooked us dinner. Do you remember?
Yeah. Pretty embarrassing. When I think another day, she saw what we were having for breakfast and she wanted to make breakfast for us as well.
But that's, that's the humility of Daddy Ji, wasn't it? And I think she was just so close to us, the way she looked after us and loved us when she came to Australia that first time. And in Melbourne, I had been in London and I was there for about 15 months. And then I'd been away from my family for nearly 4 years. And my father kept writing and saying, when we see you. So I went back to Melbourne and that was the year that Daddy Ji came. We started a little centre. We rented a centre for $50 and we did service, and Daddy Ji came and we did a program in the most magnificent hall also. The whole ceiling is stained glass. And about 400 people came, really good audience, really high quality. And what I remember was Daddy Ji, she was really touched by this audience. And when it came to meditation, Genti Ben was on the tour and Ramesh Bhai. Yeah. Daddy Ji sat on the front of the stage cross-legged and gave drishti. And really afterwards, we had so many phone calls. People had visions of a goddess. People had visions. And many did the course after that. And about 14 went to Madhuban. So the centre had only been 8 months or 9 months. And but Daddyji's part, she came and touched these souls, and many of them have become instruments for this country. Yeah, it was really incredible.
What about since we're reminiscing, what about we had meetings with Baba who gave us some hints about our spiritual efforts and also very good, clear instructions for service. Can you remember some clear instruction that Baba gave you for service, like personally?
One thing I do remember was I think it was 1980, the year I moved to Sydney, and I was actually asked by Nivebai, he was the instrument anyway, to move from Melbourne to Sydney. So I said, okay. And when I arrived in Sydney, there was a brother's house, a Pandav Bhavan. And there were some problems in the Pandav Bhavan. And when I sat in front of Baba in the history hall, I can still remember. Do you remember? Remember Baba used to be on the side of the history hall? Remember how Baba would sit on the side, on the
it wasn't
floor,
in the
on
front.
the gutty?
Yeah, he would meet us from the side of the history hall, not from the front.
Yeah. And anyway, I sat in front of Baba and Baba gave me drishti, and then Baba said, "Is everyone happy with you?" Because there was and I didn't answer the question. And then Baba was so sweet because Baba said, "Don't worry, some aren't even happy with Baba." Because Baba was trying to make me feel good. And then Baba went on to say, some think, oh, why did Baba meet this one for 5 minutes and me only 1 minute? Baba was saying, and he was making me feel better about myself because I was so new and I didn't really know how to manage this situation. And so Baba, and what it really taught me too was that how much Baba knows about the soul, because the way I've so many times sat in front of Baba, and his questions were so pointed to really know who I was and, what was happening in my life. And I remember that made me feel so light when Baba said, "Don't worry, some aren't even happy with Baba." Yeah.
Once, you probably remember these scenes also because we spent the last bit of my time in Australia, we were together in the centre in Melbourne.
Yes.
It's probably the best experience of centre life I've ever had.
Yeah, we had a great time.
It was you, myself, and Simon, and another brother in the centre. Anyway, in the early '79, Daddyji and Didi Mohini called me with Gentiben as a translator, and they asked me if I'd like to go to Brazil. And I said, yeah, why not? Good. And the next day, Baba was coming in Baba's room. So I met Baba, and Gentiben always remembers this. Baba, I asked Baba, you want me to go to South America? And Baba said, yes, go. Any special instruction? He said, be friendly. Yeah, that's interesting. She said that they probably won't like the disciplines, but be friendly. But in any case, that gave me the feeling. Imagine I asked Baba, you want me to go to a place? And Baba says yes. So how do you feel? You feel that Baba's with you, right? So I arrived here with virtually nothing. I went back to Australia. I had a good job. I earned a little bit, and there was enough money to get to Brazil with about $200 left in my pocket. But I had such a good feeling that Baba was with me, and everything would happen okay. And subsequently, Baba gave so many clear instructions about what to do and how to do. The biggest surprise of my life, I suppose, and this will give you, everyone who's listening in, a good feeling, because if you went in front of Baba, Baba would show you that he knows you. He would show something that he knows you. He knows you better than anyone, knows you better than yourself. And so I came in front of Baba, and Baba looks at me, even with the drishti, and he says, "You have visa problems, don't you?" Who told you? No, I'd never told anyone, actually. And so he said, yeah. I said, at every 3 months, I have to go across the border and get my passport stamped and come back again, because I was on a tourist visa. And Baba said, don't just go to the border. So how do you know that I just go to the border? I hadn't also told anyone. Don't just go to the border, he said. Go to the capital cities and get service going. So that was how service started in Argentina and Uruguay and all of these, and Chile also, other countries around. So I started to go and to get things happening, and that's the service started here, service started there, and so on. So Baba was the feeling that Baba was with me was so strong that everything would work out. So huge blessings. Not much. Pardon?
Did you ever actually ask Baba questions about how to manage service or how to solve a problem in service?
No. I didn't. I had the feeling that Baba already knows. I had a similar problem to what you were describing. Some very unwieldy souls doing all sorts of nonsense. But I really made an effort to be tolerant and patient, loving. And I came back in front of Baba. Baba gives me long drishti, and he says, "Thank you." That's it. That means he knew about the effort that I'd been making. And I knew that he was talking about that particular situation. So it's like, I don't know, with Baba's blessing, everything becomes clear, I suppose. I mean, it's not easy to deal with souls.
Yes, I remember once a group of double foreign teachers were sitting in front of Baba. And do you remember in those days, Baba would have chit chat? Do you remember he'd say, "Children, do you want to ask any questions?"
Especially in the history hall. After Morley, chit chat.
Yeah. And anyway, he said, "Does anyone have any questions?" He asked us, and no one asked anything. So I just put up my hand and I said, "Baba, what sort of service should we be doing?" And Baba, I was just sitting to the side, and Baba looked at me, gave me drishti. The first thing he said was, "I've already told you." And then what he said really helped, because he said, in foreign countries, just create a powerful atmosphere. And I've always remembered that I really feel that the service we do, I feel the souls, when they taste that unique vibration of soul consciousness, of Baba's vibration, that is a much louder message than a verbal message. And I've always remembered, just create a powerful atmosphere. And I remember once Daddy Janki, maybe only 12 years ago, was in Melbourne. And we had a program in the town hall of Melbourne, and 2,500 came. And it was a wooden floor, and there was a very noisy sort of room. And when Daddy stood up, she was introduced. I think I introduced her. And she just gave drishti. For 10 minutes, she just stood in silence in front of 2,500 people that didn't really know her. The atmosphere, you know, when Baba just does a magic that just transforms a vibe, it was absolutely incredible. And I could feel people were having an experience. Just, it was like a Shiv Shakti, a goddess, bestowing this vibration. And I really felt that was the lecture, that was the message, that was the service. And I still feel that that's how we will continue to do service in foreign countries through. I feel the Brahma Kumaris, our specialty is creating atmospheres better than our public talks, and even though we can't do many these days. What do you feel? Because I really feel when we sit in a yoga bhatti, when we go into silence as a group, I don't think any other group in the world can make that purity, that same feeling.
But I remember in those chit-chats with Bapdada, I asked a question once, Baba, how do you create a powerful atmosphere in the center? Baba said, be powerful. A simple answer, right? I mean, who's going to do it? We are, right? It's not someone else. So, I mean, how many times have we experienced that obstacles get removed at a personal level and even at an organizational level when there's good quality meditation happening? Yes, absolutely. And that's, I think I agree, I think the message that the revelation takes place through two means, through the atmosphere, but also through the collective unity. I think that has to be collective and not individual. No individual, however brilliant or amazing they are, will reveal Baba. It has to be the collective unity of all of us. So that's why Baba wants us to get together and meditate together.
Yeah, it's lovely you say that, because I remember once Baba said, how will he be glorified? And the Baba said, when one from each kind says, my Baba from the heart. And Baba was saying, some different religions, different nationalities, different cultures, different professions, all say my Baba. So it's like when many souls say my Baba from the heart, Baba will be glorified. Ken, I'm just going to leave for 30 seconds. I just have to close the window. It's sunrise in Australia and the sun is coming into my eyes. So
it's good that the sun is coming into your eyes. Okay, good for you.
I'll be back in a sec, so you can continue.
Well, yeah, I think you're getting the idea. One thing I've noticed about Charlie is he's not concerned at all about name and fame. I think Baba's given that blessing. Charlie was just saying, one thing I've noticed about you is the completely unconcerned about name and fame. We just want to do the best thing we can do for Baba. So I think you are such a virtuous soul. And I think everyone loves you because of that. How do you do it?
I really don't know what to say to that, but I think I've just really loved this life from day one. I just love it. And, I can say from my heart, I really love the Brahmin family. And we know we're a very unique family. We're all so individual. We all have our own quirks, but I've really just loved this life. And, and I also, we've been friends for 45 years, and it's been such a beneficial friendship for me because, Ken and I don't see each other for months, even longer than that. And yet it's been such an open and deep and, because I suppose we've just traveled together on the journey. And what I've really appreciated, I've found amazing is Ken's intellect, because I feel that he can turn his intellect to anything. What I've learned from Ken, whether it's the artistic, the music and things like that, or the intellectual, or the writing, or the even computers or management. He has no fear of any any body of knowledge, and has this constant sort of curiosity. And I often imagine that Ken, for many births, has been such a philosopher and writer and, and teacher, because one of the things, and to be honest, I find that in the whole yagya, there's two people I find at the moment who are really original thinkers, who come up with really, go so deep into Baba's truth. One is Mohini Ben. I think Mohini Ben plays a beautiful part of really going so deep and bringing out treasures. And Ken is the same too. And I think we really need these souls that keep going in and bringing out new ways of playing with Baba's treasures and keeping active, because I've realized, when I keep my intellect active with Baba's knowledge, the account of waste goes down, and that's when you feel so light. And I really learned that from Ken. And yeah, so it's been a really beneficial friendship. And it's interesting, isn't it? Daddy Janki, do you remember Ken would always say that she and Didi Ji, and she's defined a spiritual friendship. It's not about dependence or anything. It's about growing together, inspiring each other. And I think we've shared a room.
Many years.
Sheshi Ben still puts this, well, until the last 2 years. We shared a room for about 40 years, but it's been great. I love it, because it's really important to have friendships to reflect on you, where you're at. And sometimes people give you a mirror and feedback, because we need it. I really feel, don't you? We really need sometimes some objective feedback from someone you really trust, someone's perception. Or
and when I see you and others, Charlie, I become so happy that you are making others happy. I become so happy that you are flying ahead, and may you always have all of the victories that you deserve. So my feeling is always go ahead, progress. And so, I just become very happy to see you doing that, to tell the truth.
Likewise, Kenji, likewise. And
you remember when Baba met us once? What is your, there are probably different ways to interpret this, but once Baba met us both together, actually a few times Baba met us together. But one time Baba gave the drishti, and there was one other brother with us. I think it was Michael Timmins. I'm not sure. But Baba gave drishti, and he said, you were with Brahma in your last birth. So what's your understanding of that? There was some closeness with the yagya somehow or the other. Not clear if we were Brahmins or not, but definitely we were close somehow.
I remember the way I remember it, Baba said you were companions of Baba, Saka Baba, yeah. And I do remember afterwards we went to meet Daddy Prakashmani, Daddy Ji, to ask her about that. And I think her answer was so lovely, because she said it doesn't necessarily mean you were in the yagya, but you were in the community. I was definitely in the community, I feel. Whether we were in the yagya, no one knows. I think every Brahmin would love to feel we were there, but whether we were there in reality.
We were close, or in the yagya, or close to the yagya. But you went to Pakistan.
I did.
And how did you feel?
Quite honestly, a few years ago, I went to Pakistan, and I was invited to speak at an interfaith conference, which was quite amazing. And then I went to Karachi. And Ken, when I took leave from Daddy Janki, you know how Daddy would sit with her toli beside her, and she was trying to get me a toli, and I said, Daddy, I'm going to Pakistan, and she kept fiddling with her toli, and then she went, Pakistan? It was like, and you know what she said? Take my heart with you. And that was so moving. And I went to Karachi, and I went to Brahma Baba's home, and that was amazing because it's owned by Pakistan's top fashion designer now. He's remodeled it, but such a beautiful home. And I don't know, I just felt so special being there. And it was right where Clifton Beach used to be, in one of the best. I mean, it was a huge, beautiful old colonial home. And then I went to Kunch Bhavan, where all the sisters stayed. And I can't tell you the feelings I had there, all the photos there, but what I felt, I could feel the love that Shiv Baba brought into the world. And I don't know, the atmosphere in that place, I will never forget. I can still remember an atmosphere. It was just so powerful. And I just could feel the whole story. 14 years and never doing any service. So whether we were there or close by, but there's that feeling. And when I was 10 years in Gyan, I sat in front of Baba, and I didn't know you were there too, Ken. And
Yeah,
Baba
but
asked
it
us,
was the first group of foreigners celebrating 10 years in Gyan. And Baba called us that small group of 10-year wallahs.
That's
In
right.
front of him, and he told us, each of us, what our speciality was, right?
That's right. What did he say to you?
Well, he said, you love knowledge. You love truth. And it was right at the time that I was actually getting this New Beginnings published, which was a very enjoyable. I wrote that for my own understanding, not really to make a book out of it, but Jagdish ended up approving it and was in that process. So I was really, especially at that time, really going into the depths of Gyan. And so when Baba says, you love knowledge, don't you? Like, that's the speciality. Yes, I love knowledge. Why not? I love going to the depths of knowledge. And then when he met you, what did he say?
You know, what I remember is Sudesh Didi was translating, and Baba first asked us, what is your specialty? None of us said anything. But when he came to me, he said, your specialty is your love for Brahma Baba. And I'd always felt close to Brahma Baba, but that really made me explore much more deeply in my relationship with Brahma Baba, because I feel, for me and the sort of person I am, that Brahma Baba's example of courage, I just get so much courage from, him facing everything and overcoming everything. And I've always really felt incredibly close to Brahma Baba. And that was what Baba mentioned to me at that time. And when I was in Karachi, I didn't know, the whole of the early yajna came to life for me. And what a joyous time. I really felt it was almost like God came to earth, and those 300 incredibly lucky jewels were celebrating, refinding their beloved. It was, Kunch Bhavan is, I wish we could all go and visit there, because I think it just fills something in your heart about the history of the yajna. And I often feel the whole yajna is built on those 14 years, the yoga power, the love, the truth. It's just the whole yajna has been built on those 14 years. And I always felt why the daddies were so special, because the vibration they had because of those 14 years of no service, just cooking, cleaning, just Gyan and yoga. 14 years, how amazing. You and I were born into service, almost all on this Avyakti Parivar. We were born into service, but the daddies had 14 years of just basically being with Bap Dada. Incredible, absolutely incredible.
When we first went to Madhuban, I mean, you were there a month or so after me, the first time. It was only 6 years after Brahma Baba had left the body. And so everything was so simple, so royal. I don't know if the sisters, I think the sisters and the brothers only used cotton clothes. The synthetic cloth came up much later. We would eat our meals sitting on the floor. To have a bath, you had to sort of go out into the cold and fill up your bucket at an outdoor water heater. It was heated by coal. There was one bus, I think, from old bus, and there was an old truck left over from the Second World War, and one car that Dada and Nankishore used to drive around. So that was and what was there in Madhuban? Dead, absolute simplicity, complete simplicity. But on the other side, there was such a powerful purity and vibration. So I always remember those early days of Pandab Bhavan. So I can imagine the early days in Karachi.
Yeah. Yes. And when you were just describing, it was bringing back all the feelings of, my memory was, Ken, there was about 35 Madhuban Niwasis at the world headquarters. And, I remember Nirvebai saying that Saka Baba, when 100 children would come to Madhuban, Baba would write in his letters, those letters of the big red pen, Madhuban is overflowing with children. Look, now there's like 30,000 coming. And it's lovely in a way because that simplicity. My understanding is that when Saka Baba left, there was only, I think, about 150 centers or 200 centers.
That's right.
In the world. But I agree, one of my memories of the early days was sitting in hours of yoga bhattis in the meditation hall and the daddies coming in, 3 of them taking drishti.
That's right.
And I can remember almost feeling cleansed, the soul just felt so pure, so transformed just by the atmosphere and the drishti and the love and the power. It was, and do you remember that all the foreigners, we used to come and we used to take leave in front of the Tower of Peace? Do you remember? And Dadiji and Didiji would stand there and they'd play all this tear-jerking music. And almost all the foreigners, brothers and sisters, because I remember Baba used to say that you foreigners, especially the Australians, all you do is you go back home to save money to come back to Madhuban again.
That's right.
And once Baba said to us that Madhuban is your home and Australia is your office. And one of the brothers said, Baba, is it normal to live in the office for 50 weeks a year? But it was like that, the love, not just for Baba, but the love for Madhuban, the love for the daddies. I think it's all a part of what Brahman life is really about.
And this is why we remember the days of our childhood. Though just now we were trying to remember the days before our childhood, right, in our previous birth, right? But remembering the days of the child will take us always back to Madhuban and the daddies and Bap Dada and the meetings. And we'd spend the whole night awake watching Baba meet souls. And
absolutely.
Incredible. And Baba's so sensitive, right? I remember the first group from Australia, we were meeting Baba in the meditation hall, that group of bouquet souls, right? And one brother, Baba was throwing nuts. And of course, we would just become amazed. Imagine God throwing nuts. And he was throwing nuts, and there was this brother next to me, and he said, "I didn't get my nut yet." And suddenly a nut comes whizzing through the air and lands right next to him. So he got his nut. When he went back to Australia, he wanted to do something, I don't know, put it in some resin or something and make a memorial out of it, but it got confiscated at the customs. Not allowed to take any sort of foodstuffs into Australia. So anyway.
Yeah. And I have lovely memories of Baba having, hands full of nuts and throwing them, and everyone scrambling to get the nuts. It was absolutely beautiful. Hello,
Didi,
Mohini
you are here.
Ben.
Hello, Didi. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Om Shanti.
Hello, Mohini Ben. We're reminiscing, and we're just remembering the days of childhood in Pandav Bhavan and the meetings with Baba. And I was just about to ask Ken, what are your memories of Didi Ji, Didi Manmohini? I had a really special feeling for Didi Ji and her spiritual power, her drishti, I remember. What's your memories of Didi?
I think also she was also very playful. She would play tricks on us, but I remember she would just conduct meditation. She wouldn't look to this one, to that one, to that one, just look straight ahead as if she's giving drishti to the world. Powerful yogi. That's my memory of Didi. Very powerful yogi. Probably one of the most powerful that we've had.
Well, I have a memory of one brother coming from London. He was very new and he had lots of questions. And, they were good questions, but they just kept coming. They would never stop. And we wondered how we could sort of make him happy. And we took him to meet Didi Manmohini. I remember he sat in front of Didi for 2 minutes and he had the experience of being a bodiless soul. And it was like all the questions disappeared, just Didi Ji's drishti. I remember her drishti. I had such incredible experiences. It was like really she was such a yogi, a real yogi. And one of the things I loved about Didi Ji, remember when we'd have the Brahma Bhojans?
Right.
And we would all sit on the floor in silence. You've seen photos when Saka Baba was there, and the sisters and brothers would come and serve us food, and all in silence. And then Didi Ji she played that part of Saka Baba of inviting, I forget the words, Mohini Ben will remind us of the words that she would say. It's now time to start to eat the Brahma Bhojan. And I really loved those times. It just felt such a yagya feeling, such a beautiful feeling of belonging to the yagya and being cared for by the yagya.
Yeah. Well, Didi, you've made such a big effort to bring the ancestor souls to life in a way for all of us, for the whole world through the Avyak Parivar program. So Didi was certainly one of your favorites, right? So how are you feeling? We were remembering the days of the childhood, and we cannot remember the days of childhood without remembering these ancestor souls, and of course Pandav Bhavan especially. So how is your feeling? Lovely to see you.
Om Shanti. It was very lovely sharing, lovely conversation, and very beautiful stories. And while listening, I was just thinking that when Baba says, you have taken only 1 or 2 births in the foreign land, and that also because if you all were not born in different countries, then who would have started service? So I think whatever you are sharing belonging to Yagya. So I think you definitely were part of Yagya even in the past birth. But as Baba said, you all were sent to be in different parts of the world. So that's what I was reminded. And, when I look at both of you, then I start thinking about all the Pandavas all over the world, and that if there is this recognition, there is love for Baba, there is love for Yagya, love for service, but also to recognize, one's own part, and with faith play that part. Because I like when yesterday, I was offering Bhog and Baba said, Baba recognize your speciality as soon as you are born. And some of you recognize and start playing part, and some don't recognize their specialties. So because of that, they keep questioning about what is my part. And I really had been thinking about what Baba said. So one thing is love for Yagya, but both of you, and of course Pandavas, have the special quality of respecting sisters, because I know that the way Brahma Baba, started these Kumaris trust, and then they became Dadis. And one time Dadi Gulzar was telling me that these brothers really respect you all. And she used to think, no, you are foreigners, and of course, intellectual and all that. Even some of us also had basic education. But she said, I really like how they respect. And one time something happened, and Brother Ken must be asking something. And she said, that means they recognize that you all also have wisdom. So I said, yeah, there must be something. They noticed that, they always discuss things with us. And when we have to decide, they always, kind of sit together and say, let's talk about it. So they used to, Dadis always used to watch that how you respected all of us for being the partners or companions in the service in foreign land. And so, as I'm saying that, of course, Dadis, but your story is also story of beggar to prince, no? In the sense of, I always, actually this thought of getting you both to talk came because we had one time from Ahmedabad to Delhi, twin brothers from Australia with us. We were together in the plane, and they tried to get seats so we could talk. So they were talking to Bhumi Ben, and Bhumi Ben said, we see you, we hear so much. So one of them, I think, I don't remember which one, but one is Michael, right? Other one.
Michael and Joe.
Yeah, so Joe started sharing whole thing from how they came, and, and she said, but that's so interesting to at least know exactly from where this story began of the life, than hearing little bit here, little bit here. So, and of course, Bhumi Ben has lot of love and respect for brothers, and especially both of you, because what younger ones like is that how you interact with sisters with lot of love, of course with brothers and the whole family. So that is very much not only appreciated but observed also. And so there are many beautiful qualities which I think that many sisters look at, and from our hearts there is not only love but also respect for both of you. And I still was like today I was meeting these Pandavas from Latin America, all the countries, Spanish speaking countries. And I was thinking that, of course, your program was now, and if it was before, or sometimes if Pandavas can have interaction and try to understand their role, was giving example that Brahma Baba himself is, Baba says, I'm older brother. And then we have next to him was Vishwakishore Babu. He was Baba's right hand. And then there was Anand Kishore Dada, few brothers, only 5, 6. And after that came Jagdish Bhai and Ramesh Bhai, Nirbhar Bhai came and Brijman Bhai, so they became like senior brothers. So even Pandavas are, small in number, but actually has a very important role. Why it is 5 to 100, Baba says 100 Shaktis by Pandavas, that has a very, very important. And it's important, I feel, all the Pandavas worldwide to feel that not only they have an important part to play to support Yajna. And there are many things I find, like in the USA, I came. I mean, I have little bit background of everything, so I could manage, understand everything legally, financially, or socially. But whenever we have to decide on certain things, so I will call Brother Eric and say, because, I feel that he's American, he lives here, and he will know exactly. But it's so interesting that, when we have to create guidelines now to open the centers. So Judy, she's American, and they know details of the news, even if we know whatever is going on. But still, today I call, they say, "Oh, you have to finalize." No, it's ready because we want to, like here, they have opened it. New York will be open on 19th May and New Jersey will be open. Many states have declared that they will open it, but we still want to follow certain guidelines before just saying, okay, let's open. And then we find it could have been better if we had certain guidelines. So what I'm saying that, it's like working together with this clarity, I think is very, very helpful. And then I know that, all dadis, they had one brother for each dadi. I don't know what they call it. That means if any legal thing comes up or else, they will be the ones who will represent them. So I find that such an interesting role. Even when I am here, it's brothers play. And so saying that, okay, we will take care of it. But then they know that lot of our good wishes, power of yoga, whatever will help, so anything brothers will do, they get it approved and work together. So sometimes like people are really amazed to see that how we could be so respectful. And even name is Brahma Kumari's organization, which somewhere they dropped the name Brahma Kumars, or maybe it was too long. When I came in Gyan, the board outside said Brahma Kumars and Kumaris, and somewhere or other it disappeared. And then it became Brahma Kumari. So a lot of people thought it's a sister women organization. Until now, some people say, oh, can men also come? Can men also come? I said, yes, it's meant for families. So I really, really say that if every Pandav in Yagya from all the countries can recognize that there is a very important and a special role each one is playing and has to play in future also. And so to maintain that understanding of role, maintaining that self-respect which Baba is giving to all the brothers, and of course from my side, one thing I also, once I meet a person, I love that person, but especially I give lot of love, recognition to brothers even in the Lokik life, I find like mothers are in Gyan, so their husband somewhere are cooperating, allowing them to go, allowing them to follow. So I give a lot of attention to those brothers, and because of that, they also say, "Oh, send love to. Can we go meet Sister anywhere?" So there is love from them, even they are not in Gyan. So I think that we brothers and sisters, they both have important part to play in Yagya. But Dadi Gulzar used to say jokingly that you got bridegroom, but also you got ghar and var. Var is bridegroom and center is like your home. But what about brothers? So she used to sometimes say that how much loving, respectful we should be. I mean, look at part of Jagdish Bhai and how Dadi Gulzar and all of us used to sit with him, consult him, and say, what should we do, and all that. So I just want to share that how Dadi is loved and respected, and also gave these comments for all of you, especially, of course, two of you, and also all the brothers, wherever they are. So my respects to all Baba's children, all Pandavas. And then I was, once Nirvar Bhai came to Peace Village, some task was going on. And in Peace Village, like I have to be in the meeting for projects and, engineering part and money part. And so he said, why are you wasting your time in all that? So I said, if I am here and some or other I have general knowledge of everything, so they consult me and I help them, which I still do, because whenever they have to finalize a big project, they will call me. Oh, you should be writing books. There is no one after Jagdish Bhai who writes about Brahma Baba. And so then I thought about, then we came up. In call of time, people used to say, you tell us so many beautiful things, but what is the source? And you know how we not just say God is. Dadi Janki used to say Baba, oh Baba. They didn't know about God. So he said, let's sit together. And from Baba's Murli, original words of Baba, let us write something. 10 of us came together. And now when I'm listening to, this soundtrack very beautifully, and that actor who is reading is from Australia. It's an Australian actor. Is really when he's reading, it's coming out very, very beautiful. I play 2-3 times because it's like original just words of Baba to say about soul, about God, about cycle. So I think people are enjoying that, and we are able to use the book now. Anyway, so I want to just say that how much Baba loves you all, and we have good wishes, and also lot of respect for the part which you all playing in Yagya. So it's all very, very nice to chat with all of you, and definitely all the ancestor souls are sharing blessings with us. Same is at this time, Avyakti Parivar has 80% young people, very young, 18, 19, and the way they are, like, this girl Kumari, who reads Adidev, every Monday she narrates. It's like as if she had been in Yagya, and they all are happy, the translators, and it's quite a amazing thing that everyone is doing happily everything. And I always feel this must be Dadi Janki or one of the Dendali Gurus, someone behind this whole thing, which is giving us a lot of love, ideas, and courage to continue, month after month, because we keep receiving. Don't think of stopping. Don't think of stopping. So whenever we think we will pause now, whenever we say now maybe we take some break, we start getting, even without telling them, they start sending lot of emails. But my feeling is also that if, we do chit chat and if people can benefit, that's okay. And now system had been set up and everything is working very well. So got a good chance that we can be in the family every evening. It's like getting ready for the show. And some are occupying since 6 in the evening. They come and meditate and like they have reserved their seats, no windows, and they have cabinets. So it's beautiful feeling to be together, and so very nice that you both could give time. Only we had to adjust now because of Australia timing. Even when we have meeting, it's between USA and Australia. We have to always adjust the time. So Bhumiben had been trying for a long time to get the time. And Brother Ken was with us for a whole month and everyone was so happy, So I think that Bhumiben is requesting if we can do meditation together for the whole world, and because this time not a good time, right, for the world. If you look at how the not only sufferings, conflict, and everything is reached to a very, very tamoguni stage. Even when you see lawmakers, the way they treat each other and say things about each other, it was never like that. So we can see the climax. And also, of course, our family needs us to be together, united with love, respect for everyone. Because everyone is special, everyone. And without, that means we cannot be without anyone. That means we all are together and we have to be together. So we will do meditation. I don't know who Ben has to say something.
Thanks so much, Sister Mohini.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Mohini. So lovely to be with you. Thank you for inviting us too.
Thank you.
Om Shanti. Thank you very much, dear Brother Ken and dear Brother Charlie. That was amazing. And we feel like we want to hear more and more and more and more. So when you have time, please, Avekti Parivar's doors are open for both of you. So please let us know. We are right here and we are sitting here waiting. Whenever you have time, you come and share with us.
Thank you, Bhumiben. Really appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you, Sister Bhumi, really.
Thank you. So now we will do meditation and take drishti from our 3 seniors, and they will be sharing, and also for the whole world. So Om Shanti.
Okay, thank you, brothers.
Thank you, Mohini-Ben.
You can
you.
say Om Shanti to the whole family. We will show you.